All right.
Let's go.
Hi, everybody. How are you? And welcome to the first episode of Clueless. I'm Selen,
I'm Josh.
and we're going to talk about Clueless. What are we, Joshua?
So we call ourselves Clueless only because we want to talk about life experiences. We want to talk about life in general. You know, I feel like we're all clueless in this world we're living in,
Yeah.
and we don't all have it, set up,
Or figured out.
figured out. We don't have anything figured out. We gotta take it a step at a time, and we're clueless, and that's what we're here to talk about. And our first topic is going to be about relationships and toxic traits, and within men and women in relationship, and how it can and does affect relationships. And that brings me to my first question to Selena. I wanted to ask you, bro. Hey, what do you, in this generation right now, in 2023, do you think it's difficult to date, or you think it's easy? Like, what do you think about it? How do you find it?
That's a good question, dude. Honestly speaking, I think personally it's a little bit more difficult just because there's so many options. There's so many options and I was talking about this with you prior, that, we got dating apps, dude, Instagram, Facebook, X, they give you suggestions of other people. But most importantly, I think that people glorify toxic traits. I think that's and you see the memes, and don't get me wrong, the memes are hilarious, dude.
Yeah.
But like,
They are.
but like, it gets to a certain point where like it stops being hilarious and it starts being delusional, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh crud, dude. It's pretty tough. But I have to say, like, in this day and age, bro, it's pretty difficult just because people aren't dating for a relationship. I think they're just dating to date, to do something, like, cause
They're not looking like on the future. They're just looking at right now and what they get, what they can get out of it right now.
yeah. And from my experience, from what I see a lot, when it tells you like, oh, like they're looking for a long-term relationship, or they're looking for a short-term, or they're still figuring it out. I have to say that like 80% of my interactions are looking for a short-term relationship, or just still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's so crazy, bro. How is
Yeah.
looking for a short term? Like, what? You yourself are establishing the fact in your mind. You're
it's like, oh,
you're manifesting that. You don't want to, somebody that's gonna treat you right and marry you.
no, yeah,
That's wild. That's crazy.
Like, cause thank you, you're the first cat that says that, bro. Where it's like, man, it doesn't make sense, because in a way you're saying like, okay, so if I get with you, your thought is like, oh yeah, I came into this relationship knowing that we're gonna break up in a
Yeah.
couple months, or like however lasts it longs, but I'm not looking into like being with you.
Yeah,
and
you're
it's
just like my side. You know. What I'm saying?
exactly, bro. And it's like, oh,
Little
so
snack on the side. You know?
while I look for my main course,
Yeah,
and
like-
it's like, man, yeah, it's kind of difficult, bro. It's a little bit tough. It's tough, I have to say.
I agree with you, man. I think it is very tough in this generation. Mind you, yes, I'm still young and I'm still learning, but from what I have learned, it's just like me personally, bro. Is we can't, like, men in general can't even be chivalry anymore. It's become so weird to be such a gentleman. It's become so, oh, that's the nice guy. We want a bad boy,
very pick me boy.
Yeah, and it's like what happened? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Growing up, it was open the door for the girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how my pops raised me and taught me. You know what I'm saying? That's pay for the lady and do this. But now it's just like pick and choose on when you want, what the women wants in chivalry, and
When
you
they
just can't.
want.
Yeah, and you just can't be, the nice guy anymore. You
No,
know? It's that phrase, "nice guys finish last," is there for a reason, and that's honestly. That stings a little, like, when you think about it. It stings, like.
It does. No, it's something that I think I want to piggyback on what Josh was saying there, is that, look, like you said, his pops raised him that way. I was raised definitely that way. My dad is he's a hopeless romantic. He was into poetry. He still is into poetry. Well, like writing notes, stopping to buy flowers. Total like Casanova guy, right?
That's a ladies' man, right?
Oh
there.
yeah, but don't tell my mom. But like, but yeah, man, like it got to a point where like he started showing me to do that. Always open the doors, ladies first, all these elders first, all this stuff. Just doing certain things that, like you said, that are known as nice guy trait
Yeah.
or chivalry. And I have to say that, in my experience, a lot of women do want that, but for a short term, and then they say it gets boring.
Yeah.
And I think it's whack because I think look, I know you've seen it, and I know you've seen it, where people like, I wish I was in the '60s, cause like,
like,
guys used to like drop flowers, and then they used to sing like, put your head on my shoulders and all these things. But that's lies.
Because the moment you do it, they're like, oh, I don't want that no more.
They're like, oh man, that gives me the ick, and it's like, no, bro, you give me the ick.
No, he's nice, but you know
But,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's always like
Anything with but, it's like ...
Yeah.
and it's like,
it's
oh,
he's
bummer.
nice, but I want a bad boy that's adventurous. That's what they call it. They call a bad boy adventurous. Like,
That's what we're calling it now.
if you like your love life being a roller coaster and you think that's adventurous, then by all means, hey man, like, I don't know what to tell you.
No, and I guess the tough part is because, and then this is where the cringy like fedora wearing guy comes in, where the guy's like, he's like, well, I'm done being a nice guy, and now I'm gonna start treating women like trash because that's the only way you can get women. And it's like, look, I've had people tell me that, and I've gone through that corny phase where you're like, I'm done being a nice guy, and it's like, nah,
we all have.
yeah, dude. Look, you're lying to yourself if you said that, because you're 100% right, dude. Gosh, dude.
First things first. Hey, listen, if you're a nice guy, stay nice.
Amen,
don't be
brother.
out here trying to change. You know what I'm saying? Stay
No, for
nice,
real.
stay chivalry. They deserve to be treated like queens, and no one should tell you otherwise. Even if they tell you otherwise, ignore it. They're supposed to be treated like queens. Period. And that brings me, bro, to like not just women, but men have their own little thing too, where it's just like, whoa, some toxic traits, and I think a big one is verbal abuse. We haven't written down right there,
We do.
Verbal abuse.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge one. That's a big one, and I'm gonna start off by saying, man, y'all need to stop that. It needs to stop. I know it's it's become so easy. It's become so easy for a man to just verbally abuse a woman and just bring him down to like a level where it's just in the dark, you know what I'm saying, for lack of better words. And that's very dangerous, and I find that like very being toxic. And women, if you're in that situation, I don't want to tell you how to run your life, but run. You know what I'm saying?
Run. Our suggestion is you should go the other way. 190.
We're not sponsored by nobody, so
not yet.
So we're telling you run, but that's your choice, because
she's a track star, bro.
Yeah, women definitely don't need to be treated like that. And
no, for real. And I think funny that you say that. I think that falls into that. I have a lot of friends that, hey, good relationships, man, very good relationships, and they've been there together. But I always hear this constant like, oh man, it's the way you speak to me that pisses me off. And it started off with like you said, he's a very adventurous guy, and this is by no means I'm looking down at any relationship. This is just an observation, which is what we're doing. But I remember what I see a lot is that like, oh, he's just getting comfortable with me, so then he starts maybe cussing you out a little bit, or maybe he starts calling you stupid, or he's like, don't be such an idiot. It starts off small, and then next thing you know, it's like a toddler. If you let them push, and they're like, oh, don't touch that, and then they touch, and then they're like, oh, mom didn't tell me I couldn't do it, so I'm gonna go further and further, and next thing you know, he's calling you a bunch of stuff. He's calling you a sleazebag or whatever. Get creative. And
that's a big thing, bro, because words have power. You know what I'm saying? And
for
being
real.
a Christian too, I believe it. Words are the start of life or death. Your words have powers, and if you're bringing down that woman, it's gonna slowly bring her down, and sometimes even drastically, like super fast. And all that stuff leads to like, obviously the relationship being torn apart, of course, but it also leads to like depression. It leads to like self-harm,
low self-esteem,
being scarred, like even for the next relationship, and it's very dangerous. It's a dangerous thing to play around with, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
No, not at all. And I think that plays into a big category. As Latinos, I think we see that a lot. It's very prominent.
Definitely.
It's very known, in the Latin culture, where like it's very machismo, very like, I'm the man of the house, and I say what if I say jump,
what I say goes.
But I say, I mean, chicharrones aquí truenan.
Yeah,
and it's
I
like,
with the pants here, like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's like, bro, listen, you can be masculine and you can run your house and you can be the president of your own house without coming off aggressive, especially to a woman.
Yeah,
Definitely,
I agree. And honestly, like me personally, bro, I was I'm at fault for that too, because I did the same thing, and that's why I can personally speak out of it. It's a dangerous thing. I know I've done it. multiple times. You know, I'm not saying I'm toxic anymore. I'm not, but
Change man right here.
yeah,
right?
you know, ever since I found God, I've been working on it more and more. But I was like that. You know, I would bring women down, and I always thought that my way or the highway, and you know, without even knowing, because when you're in that phase, you don't really see it. You know, you don't really know it.
Yeah, he's
and
right.
it's just naturally, and I would just say stuff without even knowing, and it would like put them down. You know, it would bring them down to a level that to this day right now I'm like, wow, like I can't believe I did that. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, you learn from your mistakes, and I've learned from my mistakes, I should say, and that's why it's very important, man, to find God, because if you find God, bro, you find love, and if you find love, you can treat others with that same love, and you're not gonna want to put a female in that position, and that's when relationships start to rise as opposed to go down. Don't get me wrong, there's struggles, but you'll be able to rise with those struggles, and you'll be able to conquer those steps, you know, because I truly believe in the Bible and what it says and what God says, and if He says that what He brings together, no man and no woman could bring apart, that's strong, bro.
Yeah, no, he's spitting facts. You know, I know for sure what Christianity or what we practice, having a relationship with God. It's not so much of you following, or sorry, correction. It's not so much you like, you know,
following orders. Like
exactly.
That? I mean,
no.
Yeah, like it's not like your ordinance. You know, it's not like that.
No, it's more of you understanding, and it's creating a foundation for not just you, but for your family. But or correction, before that, your mental health, your discipline, and all those things that create you not as just a man, because this applies to women, but applies to you everywhere. And it starts to make you take into consideration other people's feelings, other people's salvation. And I've seen it. And I'm sure if you go to any local church or anyone, you can see some testimonies of, you know, maybe very toxic women or very toxic men, and now they're completely a 180.
Yeah.
You know, and it has to do with, again, reaching out and surrendering your love, your insecurities, your hurt, your pain, whatever, to God. And it's very tough. I know why many people don't do it or are scared of it. But like you said, it's beneficiary for both of you.
Yeah,
it really is.
And yeah, bro, because these toxic traits, bro, that we have, because we all have them, you know. And even if you say you don't, we all have them a little bit. You know, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But these toxic traits, they ruin relationships. You cannot build a relationship through that. Toxic, I'm going to call it toxicity. It's not a real word, but I'm going to say it that way.
We're just made
cannot
it
be your foundation. Toxic cannot be your foundation.
Oh, yeah, he's right.
If that's your foundation, it's going to crumble down. Maybe not in a month or two, maybe not in a year, but, you know, it will crumble down. You cannot build it through there. And that's why it's very important for men and women to respect each other and understand each other, you know, to be able to realize each other's mistakes and work on it together, as opposed to bringing each other down with verbal abuse or overthinking stuff or overreacting. Because once you start having all that,
no, and
there's no way of, I don't want to say there's no way of recovering, because there is through the Lord and Savior. Amen. But, you know, it is difficult.
And not to mention, it all starts with respecting your boundaries. And I guess that's the next trait that we follow or that we see constantly. And I know I've seen it. We've all done it. We don't respect each other's boundaries. Look, dude, you're by yourself, and you know, or you guys are alone, and then maybe you guys promise, hey man, we're not gonna go to first base, second base, third base, home run, whatever it is. And yeah, you know, it sure sounds good in paper, dude, but when you're alone or when you start don't respect someone's boundaries, that's where it starts. You know, like Josh said, look, everything that starts bad ends bad. And I can testify to that. I'm sure that you can. And unfortunately, I wish I knew that in my prior relationships, but we live and we learn. Yeah. And if you're not learning, then you're not living, dude.
And with boundaries, bro, kind of trust too. Like, give them boundaries in the sense of like space. You know what I'm saying? Don't be over here like,
it's been 5 minutes, dude.
Who are you texting, bro? Like, why is your phone ringing? You know what I'm saying? Don't be over here like, you know, talking to the man like
totally side-eyed.
And same with the guy, you know. Don't be over here like, oh, who you going out with? What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Oh, you're talking to this person. Oh, you have guy friends at work. Give her space. Give her that boundaries, man. Like, you can't. Like I said, if there's no trust, why are you even in there? If there's no trust, you know what I'm saying?
Amen.
There's gotta be trust. You
Facts.
gotta be able to trust him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the way I see it, bro, is give him that trust. And if they betray that trust, to me, it's like out with the bad, in with the good.
Yeah,
They
dude.
might ruin that trust within the first 2 months, bro. And you're like, okay, nah, I didn't have to wait 6 years with this person. You know what I'm saying?
No, and that's
So-
last. Sorry.
So boundaries. Oh, sorry about this. So like boundaries. You know, give each other space. Have that boundary within each other. You know, not just in like sexual, because obviously whatever you guys want to do, that's on you guys. But sorry, I had to drink a little bit of water. My throat was itchy. But yeah, you gotta give each other those boundaries and respect them.
No, and adding to that, dude, and do that. Like you give yourself value through boundaries. And again, it doesn't just apply sexually. And we all struggle through that, but we're talking about like, look, man, I don't like that you're still following your ex. Yeah, I don't like the fact that you're still in communication. Oh, but he's just a friend. Like, no, like we're cool, you know. And again, if you guys are single and you know you guys are talking, yeah, great, man. But if you're in a relationship and they're still following their ex, or sorry, correction, they're in communication, and you say, hey, I don't like that, and they're like, wow, you're being toxic, you
Yeah.
know, you're being controlling, dude. So you can respectfully say, you know what, like Josh said, in with the good, out with the bad, and you could just be like, hey, you know what, thank you, but I'm out of here.
That's a big one, bro. And I'm glad you brought that up with the whole boundaries and like, because that is a boundary. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he tells you he's uncomfortable and she tells you that's uncomfortable, vice versa. Set that boundary of not having that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're with that person, you want to build a future with her. You know what I'm saying? Or him. You can't plan a future and look at your future and be in the past. It's just
Yeah.
not possible.
No. Damn.
You got to be moving forward, not backwards.
Amen.
And if you're not setting those boundaries, it's a huge thing in this generation right now. I don't know how many
Yeah.
times I've heard it. We're like, oh, I have my ex, and then one person says, well, you have to delete him. You know, there's a certain way too of being able to communicate through that without using like verbal abuse, because it is verbal abuse sometimes the way
Yeah.
men portray it,
Yeah.
and sometimes women too. Haven't heard too many of women verbally abusing words when it comes to that topic, but men in general, yes. And then I kind of lost my train of thought, but it'll come back. No, yeah, like set that boundary and communicate and talk to each other, because me, quite frankly, bro, that's a toxic trait. That's very dangerous. If a female has their ex and is in communication with them, it's like,
Buddy, run.
I'm sorry.
you doing, dude?
I'm not trying to buy you flowers and you think that these flowers are for him. I know it's not like that, but you know,
It's
you
not the
just
same.
can't.
No, it's like, look, dude, it's like having a home and then
Yeah.
coming in and there's already someone renting a room out. You're like, dog, what?
yeah.
And it's like, man,
Oh,
listen,
I just bought this place, you
I
know,
bought
like,
this- yeah, I bought this to be with me and my gal, or
Yeah.
me with my partner. And you're just like, I gotta share with this cat.
Yeah, somebody-
and it's yeah, dude, I bought my combo for me, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's definitely a red flag. And I definitely have a couple of my friends that went through that you know, met the girl of their dreams, right? And everything's picture perfect. Everything looks great on paper, dude. But there's just that little thing that they're still talking to their ex, and even if it's just like a simple, maybe they like their story, or they just react to their story, and that's all it is, dude. Run, respect yourself, and it always ends bad.
Yes.
And again, there could be exceptions because clearly we don't know everything. Shout out to the name Clueless, but like we don't know everything, but. Most of the time, I can easily say that it does end bad, and they break up, and guess who gets blocked? You do.
Yep. and piggyback a little bit off of, like, you know, the boundaries. You know when there's boundaries when, for example, she is doing that or he is doing that, but they're communicating with you through that. You know, that they're showing you like, hey, look,
Yeah.
my ex is, you know, example, is going through something or was asking me a question about this, and you're basically showing them and going with that. That's a pretty good boundary right there.
Yeah,
you
no,
know what I'm
he's
saying?
100%
Because you're both coming in communication, and you know one person's not hiding another. So I want to say that can be an exception. I'm not too sure. I haven't personally, you know, given an exception.
Yeah.
if there is one, I definitely do have to work on it because it is a difficult thing, you know, and that can be a toxic trait for a male too. Like not being able to accept the fact that maybe there could be an exception. It might be like that 1%, but you know,
no, and
that have to be understanding too.
It really does, and that's where jealousy plays a fat role, a big old role. Because again, look, guys, it's okay. I think it's naturally okay to be somewhat jealous. It's okay for you to be a little bit, and possessive is a very strong word.
Yeah.
But what I mean is just to be like, hey, you know what? That's my gal, man. 6 feet, pal, and they're not. But like he said, if for whatever reason, whatever exception is happening, and they're like, hey, my ex hit me up, and it has happened to me where the gal tells me, hey, man, my ex hit me up, and maybe it does kind of jab you in the heart a little bit, but hey, dude, she's communicating, and it's straight up platonic. Man, give yourself some space, give yourself some credit, and just be like you said, boundaries. But there's also those exceptions, and that's gonna give you value. Hey, man, there's nothing more attractive than a guy that's confident.
Yes.
Not arrogant, confident.
Yeah, and you know what? Listen, jealousy is a big thing. Jealousy is a norm. I want to say it's a normal thing to have. It's a human nature thing, for a male and a female. Jealousy is there. Yeah, 100%. It's the way you portray it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're jealous, communicate with that person and be like, hey, listen, quite frankly, I'm a little jealous, by whatever the fact may be, even if it's just her or you going out so much or her spending so much time with another man or having the ex, whatever it may be. If you're jealous, communicate, be like, hey, I'm not feeling that way. And the boundary and the respect should be there to where the other person might be like, hey, you know what? I respect it. I understand it. I hear you. Let's work on this. I'm going to try to avoid that, It no longer becomes like a controlling thing, but instead of just like helping each other out. Because, and vice versa too, for a female, if that's the case and you're telling the man to be understanding, because jealousy, at least for my part, speaking by myself, speaking as a male, males tend to go a little overboard, bro. Yeah. Like y'all need to stop going overboard, man. Like, taking a notch down, y'all over here like sometimes punching walls.
Yeah, dude.
Or like real. Some even putting hands on women, like, bro, that needs to stop.
No,
that needs to stop. If you're jealous, you need to find a way to cope through it. You know what I'm saying? Communication. If you're gonna punch something, man, go outside and do that where she's not there. You know what I'm saying?
Get a bag or something.
I'm not advising to go, break stuff. No, I'm just saying, y'all need to stop.
No, yeah.
Learn how to control that jealousy, because that jealousy, when it becomes like rage or where it just passes a level, that is a toxic trait that is like, whoa, I have no even word for it. It's just bad. It's bringing you in a dark place as a man, and it's bringing that female into a dark place too. And there's just no room for darkness,
If I can share like a personal experience, I think my very first girlfriend, and this is in no way me looking down on her. We all have our faults, but she came from a very tough home, and I understand why the things were handled the way they were. Mm-hmm. But to say less, she was very jealous. And it got to a point where, dude, it corralled me. Mm-hmm. And, like, I lost so many good friends. Yeah, but the thing is, since that was... you get a drink of water. But, yeah, what ended up happening was that, it ended up, like, suffocating me. But without me knowing, because, again, that was my first relationship. And I thought that was what love was. I was like, man, because again, your boy wasn't,
knowledgeable.
Yeah, no, I didn't know nothing, man. I was clueless. But I was also just I just thought that's what love, especially when it's just your first relationship. Mm-hmm. Dude, estás empelotado.
Yeah.
And I remember my friends approaching me and telling me, hey, man, that's not okay. And, you get defensive, you get aggressive, you get angry. Hey, man, don't talk about my girl that way. You don't know nothing. Mm-hmm. Rah-rah this, rah-rah that. And, man, I looked so stupid when we broke up 3 years later. And I realized how much damage I did due to jealousy. Man, I gained, I was like 220, 250, 225. Dang. Yeah, I was a big boy, dude. I was a Pillsbury Doughboy. And I was just a big chungus. But, like, yeah, man, like, I was big, dude. I got to a point where I had heart palpitations. I didn't know what anxiety was, dude. I would wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air, thinking I thought I was dying. You know, I was like, God, make room because I'm gonna be right there. And man, it just got to a point that like she got jealous of my mom, she got jealous of my best friend's girlfriend. She thought that everybody was trying to get with me. Yeah, like she had my location. And again, locations aren't so much problems when it's like a safety issue. Like, hey, I just want to know where you're at. I don't care where you're at. I just want to know where you're at. But it got to a point where like, why are you this? Why are you at church for so long? Ooh. Why is your mom making more food? And again, that is real.
Yeah. Hey, you got to run, bro.
No, yeah.
You got to run.
And again, it got to a point where like it took me a good 3 years for me to emotionally recover from that. And again, that's not me looking down on her. She's a great person. God bless her. But at that point, man, like Josh said, it really messes you up here. And you can look great out here, man, but in here's what matters, because that's what you're gonna be dealing with behind closed doors.
Yeah, they be overreacting. You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, we take stuff and we overreact. That jealousy that is normal becomes an overreact. You know, we overreact and it just becomes something dangerous. You know?
Oh yeah.
Maybe not physically, but it can become dangerous emotionally, even spiritually, man. Like it can become very damaging.
Oh yeah, because I mean, you start questioning everything. You're like, man, God ain't real, man.
It just goes into like this rabbit hole. It just expands in some trucks. And another thing is, bruh, manipulation, bro.
Oh man, yeah.
That right there is a red flag.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys go through that a lot, but from like experiences and stuff, and seeing it too through friends and everyone, and even myself back then before I gave my life to Christ, you know, when I would go out to the clubs, and if any of you have seen this and stuff, and I've seen me there, they probably see me there, you know, like you see it, you know what I'm saying? Manipulation is a powerful thing. That's the word I'm looking for. It's powerful.
No, yeah, it bloody is.
Yeah, manipulation is very powerful.
Or also known as gaslighting. So, yeah, no, because tell me about it. Look, guys, as far as manipulation goes, look, like, how does that apply to me? Look, you throw a hissy fit when your man says no to you, when you're like, oh, hey, I wanna do this, or I wanna do that, or hey, we're gonna go to this. Like, no, I don't wanna go. Why? And like, oh, no, ya te pones tus